the pride of being right about this situation is going to be very important to them. Oh, and we're in the game.
We are in the game. So on player one side, in the reds, we have Shu playing Caesar. And in the top left as player 2, we have Master of Math. And I'm actually just going to change the unit speed settings quickly, so I can remember how.
Right away, you can tell both of these players have played extensively on this map. They're well prepared. They're just blasting through these opening turns. Both players still with more than 29 minutes and 45 seconds left on their clocks. So these players are not wasting any time with their early turns. They know exactly what they want to do. They don't have to think about it.
Yeah, at this point you would expect every player to know what their first 4 turns are going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, especially on a map.
Chess timer formats too, so.
Yeah, so I mean, any time that you don't spend in these early turns is time that you get to spend on your later turns when it really counts.
And we hear, oh sorry, I was just gonna say, we hear talk about you take your first 10 turns in 10 minutes, and we're currently on track for first 3 turns in 30 seconds, so.
I mean, we're really going through it. Looks like a bit of a mirrored opening here from the two of them. Both players going aggressive on the sides with their soldiers. Their swordsmen realizing that the 4 HP Caesar cannot actually kill the swordsman, so you're not getting a whole lot of groove charge from that fight there.
And here comes some of the very first decisions you start seeing at the players, like will Math Caesar choose to be aggressive and attack the soldier, or will he go for a different option? And he goes for the village capture instead, so we're starting to see them diverge.
So this is an interesting option. Normally, chain capturing the same village over and over again like this and letting your opponent repeatedly decap it is not great, because normally you are sort of opening up the possibility for your opponent to get groove charge, but the Caesars are on opposite sides of the map here. So actually all he's doing is just really dissuading these soldiers from capping that sort of village to the southeast of that corner village. So he's just putting some light pressure. He does need to be careful because Caesar's at such low health, as well as standing on a road, but the swordsman can actually kill him, although here comes a knight, and that's scary.
Yeah, both players, well, brought in a knight quite early, which was part of the FTA discussion we mentioned, but I'm curious to see how that's going to play out, because Shu did heal his commander right now, so he does have the tools to deal with this early knight pressure, whereas mathlord, maybe he's going to heal on this other village, but he will be a little less well positioned for dealing with the knight, and he'll also that's actually interesting. He's choosing not to heal and instead saving up his money to build a golem there.
Very interesting. Yeah, you're right. So he already had banked quite hard, and he's just moving just out of range of the knight. The knight can't actually do anything useful right now. It can't hit anything else. There's nothing that is threatening, so he's kind of wasted that knight's turn without actually needing to blow all of his gold, and he'll still be able to heal up to full next turn anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's going for a strategy that he's just ceding ground, but in a way that doesn't really cost him too much. He's going to lose some income on that village for a turn, and his Caesar's going to heal slightly later.
The one thing to consider, though, is that Shu is in a good position to defend that recaptured village easily. Whoa, super aggressive knight positioning. Whoa. What I was going to say is that Shu was in a good position to defend that village pretty easily thanks to his knight, and there's not really that much that can actually threaten it. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's
this is really
bullying
dangerous.
Caesar. But Caesar can just heal.
It's true, Caesar can just heal, but this means if Caesar heals, he just gets whacked again. So he can force Caesar to retreat not just to the 6 HP village, but then to retreat again back to the 7 HP village over by the mountain there. So he can really force Caesar completely away from the HQ, and that can give Shu's units time, Shu's reinforcements time to reach Mathlord's HQ. So this is a very heavy pressure push with not a lot of investment. It's a knight and 2 swordsmen.
There's also an interesting position with the knight. It's positioned very aggressively around the headquarters, but if you look at it carefully, it can actually transition towards the center and create a village on its way over there, so it could, well, effectively front switch. And this is like the main tool of the knights. Their high movement allows them to pressure at multiple points at the same time.
This is actually an incredibly good play from Shu. This is really just showing that he doesn't need to think very long about things to recognize these incredibly optimized plays. I certainly never would have seen that such an aggressive play would be so powerful.
But I think Matt is handling this quite well. Okay, he has to burn a mage heal, but he took down a sword for free with Caesar, so he's on 80%. And because he got thwacked twice, his groove is actually doing really quite well. Like, he's got 80% groove charge now.
So this means that if he decides to build a knight at that western barracks there, he could suddenly be on a very long distance knight crit, or potentially a double attack from his knight. Other options on the table are things like double mage heal. So he's potentially got a power move from Caesar coming out very quickly.
He gets a spear, and I like this as well because it means that he has a nice safety option to deal with the knight. It's a low
defensive
investment.
spearmen have become a go-to option in the 2.0 meta, where you can just, rather than just pushing all over the map with spearmen because they cost nothing, you see a lot of players getting like 2 or 3 spearmen and parking them by their HQ because it's so hard to breach that.
I love the positioning on the dog as well, because he knows that if anything tries to kill it, he can just counterattack with his spear.
He's also got a potential mage crit to counterattack anything that hits the dog as well.
Well, maybe not. I'm a bit curious about, well, Shu's balloon positioning when he spawned it. If he spawned it on the left side, he could have brought 2 spears inside the balloon, but I mean, maybe he wanted to keep the option to going to the right and see how things develop from here. Quite interesting regardless. And here, generally as Caesar, you have to be careful when there's a golem next to that village, because if you decap it like Shu just did and the golem's nearby, he could potentially get the first strike on your commander with a golem from a mountain, and that's very hard to deal with.
Yeah, and the
Also,
knight can actually wrap around and whack Caesar as well, so Caesar could take quite a bit of damage there. It's really scaring him off, but at the same time, that would enable his groove. He's at Shu is at 87% groove right now.
And something really scary now is that Shu has his dragon out, so he's going to have that in combination with Caesar Groove at a really good timing. And okay,
Yeah, that's
true.
Mass has now
Because of
deflected
how,
the push on his headquarters, but we're gonna start seeing both of them have like this really strong option of Caesar Groove with power units like the golems and the knights and the dragon.
Yeah, the tricky thing for mathlord here is that his Caesar and his golem are so far apart. He's got to move them closer together if he wants to have a really powerful Caesar groove.
Well, he's just gonna kill a sword instead, so
I mean, you know, that's fair too.
yeah. I mean,
Realistic.
it's a free unit that nothing can punish that golem, so
You also have to watch out for like not simply leaving the headquarters open, because knight and golem do quite a bit of damage to headquarters. Although I don't think that's how the game is going to evolve.
Both players are sort of looking like they're planning on vying for center control a bit here. It looks like what mathlord is trying to do is he's trying to just put enough pressure. The only unit that can punish anything on the right-hand side is Caesar. And he's trying to put down enough targets that Caesar can't really pick one. You know, Caesar could go for the free golem whack. It could kill one of the sword that's on the road. It could kill the village. But there's just too much other stuff nearby, so ultimately Caesar's probably not going to be able to get a ton of value out of it. He goes for the golem whack, which is probably the best move given that he stands on the mountain.
Yeah, it also doesn't put the golem into crit range, so he's not taking that much counterattack damage back from it.
Gets quite a high roll on the golem actually.
49% on the golem. That's a big roll. To back it up, God, the move on that dragon is so high, and now this dragon is
Can do
preventing
anything, really.
Mathlord's Knight. Yeah, it's really preventing Mathlord's Knight from getting involved that much, because if Mathlord's Knight goes anywhere, there's so many roads here. If Mathlord's Knight goes anywhere useful, it'll just get one shot by the dragon.
Actually, something really important to note is because Caesar's slightly injured, we're not going to see things like swords getting suicided into him on the mountain. Because that would potentially be an option otherwise, but because he's at that slightly lower percent, the sword will push it into the damage region where it won't die back.
That's true. Even with the swords on the road, they will not be able to suicide into the Caesar. Or something they could, but no such luck.
And now
Shu's center
mathlord
control is
Caesar is also like being kept from building, well, being active for now for at least a turn, because Shu got Groove first, and in the Caesar mirror matchup that can be quite important.
And Mathlord Caesar has sort of just been walled off from the action. Like, he can't. There's this dragon and knight, some pikes, a balloon. Like, Mathlord Caesar is having a very hard time approaching. Look, he's having to go well back into like safe territory here. Got to stand on the flagstone. You know, he can't go anywhere near the roads. So he's really having to play very cautiously with Caesar, while Shu can play very aggressively with Caesar because he's in a more useful position.
And we see him try and knock down this left village, and he has to do it for a road, which is also unfortunate, but he's going to eat a lot of damage on his swords just to take a village down. Damn, those double mages.
Yeah, I mean, the play with eating the damage on those swords is that Shu is obviously trying to ignore Mathlord's left-hand front. You know, Mathlord's powerful front is his left-hand side, where he's got that sort of easier barracks. And Shu was just trying to say, well, I don't care about your powerful front. I'm just going to go on my powerful front and kill everything, and you have to respond to it. So Mathlord is trying to say, no, we have to fight on my powerful front because I'm taking your villages.
We see Witch come out, dog and sword, which is really all he can afford. He needs stuff that will actually get to the front line and be influencing, because the next couple turns are going to be massive as far as damage is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, look at the tremendous power play that we've got potentially here. We've got Dragon, Mage, 9 HP Knight, and some Pikes, all in range of Caesar for Shu. So if Shu can orchestrate a good Caesar groove, he can just wipe a huge section of Mathlord's army.
And we see the golem move to the only place it can escape the dragon from. And it needs to be there, because otherwise we could see the dragon kill the golem and then get grooved and be able to do whatever it wants afterwards.
And that would just be catastrophic if that happened.
We could still see the dragon get grooved to go in and trade for the golem, but I'm not sure if that's a very good play. Or he could also maybe like groove a mage to go kill the witch at the same time. But that would expose Caesar quite a bit, so... Curious to see how Shu is going to push his advantage here.
Well, worth noting is now mathlord has groove as well. And keep in mind, if he grooves on his witch, then he only has to do 73 points of damage to Shu for lethal. And that's not very much. So I'm sensing that we could be approaching the end game here, and that one of these two players is going to pop their groove and win the game immediately at some point in the next few turns.
Yeah, that's how Caesar mirrors play out. Generally, they're like very explosive games.
For both players here, they've banked a significant amount of time. So if they need to think their way through a Caesar lethal, they will have plenty of time on the clock to do so.
Yeah, it looks like Shu isn't going to go for it just yet. He's just keeping his... I think, like, keeping the dragon in a place where the witch won't get to it, even if it had like the biggest propellant forward of groove ever.
Yeah, I think he's also wary of a potential knight all-in play on the HQ. Notice he's put all the units in front of the HQ, especially the pike, so that this knight can't be grooved and kill the HQ. So she was being aware of all of his fronts, really. Caesar's staying on the mountain, so she was pretty well protected at this moment. But what is mathlord planning? Is he going to pop the groove now? Does he think that with a groove he can bust through this huge formation? It looks like he's taking some time to think it out.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the first turns we see of even going to something like 5 minutes spent on this turn, just thinking about, can I potentially kill my opponent's commander or decimate the army around him? Okay, we see the knockdown on that village. I don't quite know how I feel about that, because the sword from Shu is just going to be able to kill.
Yeah, I mean, again, the play there isn't a sincere attempt to capture and hold this village. The play there is try to force Shu to spend money on the left side of the map. And he's done that, right? Shu has built this mage. And if the mage goes towards the left side of the map, then these two swords have done their job, which is to make Shu waste money on the left side of the map where nothing important is happening.
Well, I have to say, since Shu actually has a small income lead, he doesn't actually have to, well, work towards a victory, because if the game stalls out while he has the income lead, he will eventually win. So it is now on mathlord's responsibility, I guess, to get something done.
So mathlord has moved his knight into position where Caesar could groove it. I don't think that it would be a good idea right now. I think that he's trying to reposition himself for play next turn. Don't think that he's planning on going in right now, because it looks like Shu's formation is just too powerful with those 5 pikemen and Caesar on the mountain. It's just, that's really going to be very hard to break. So I think he's just gearing up. Next turn, going to see if he can make a push.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know that Math is not going to activate this turn, and there we go. He moves his commander down. And has to put a bunch of units in front, really, because otherwise, if Caesar just doesn't have enough protection around him, he will just die.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the... Look at all the stuff that could potentially reach him. You got some of these pikes could reach him, the knight, the dragon. Really launch an incredibly powerful counterattack here. So he needs to make sure that... mathlord needs to make sure that he's well protected.
Yeah, although I guess the one thing is, because Shu has this massive pike force, it's so immobile that even with Caesar Groove, it's hard to activate it to get it to go a decent amount of distance. So he's quite limited in that regard. We're probably going to see him groove the dragon, the mage, the knights, even his own golem. And because Math is taking the time to drop heals on his golem.
Now, one limitation in regards to grooving the dragon is that the dragon cannot hit anything from a position that Caesar could groove it. Caesar can only move so far. Oh no, that's not true. That's
He
not true.
could finish the golem off and then groove to run it back.
There are a couple positions.
That would leave Caesar on the road and quite deep, but that's potential play. Although Shu is ahead quite a bit on time, so it's probably gonna take a bit of time to just think things through this turn.
Yeah, and one of the traps that you can often fall into when you spend a lot of time looking for ways to pop a huge groove, whether you're playing Caesar or Ragnar or some other champion with a big game-changing groove, one of the traps you can fall into is that you think, oh, well, I gotta use my groove now, but he could always just hold it. He could always just say, I don't need to do it now, I can just wait until next turn.
Being very aggressive with these pikes, but doesn't kill the dog, so something else is going to have to come in and finish that off.
Well, this is tricky because not killing the dog means that the mage can take the dog's spot. You know, he can't put anything on that forest now. I think what he was kind of hoping was that he'd be able to put something in that forest after killing the dog, but it didn't work. So now the mage can come into the forest and shock one of his pikes to death. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Okay, kills the knight instead.
Now goes the mage. Gonna hit Caesar next. I think the knight is gonna hit Caesar.
The dragon can reach around and hit him from behind, so...
Ooh.
Don't think that kills, though.
It's not gonna kill.
No,
That's gonna leave Caesar, yeah, at about 2 HP.
Got 61%. Oh, he'll be a decent amount.
I mean, there's another mage backing up to heal. There's a village. Yeah, I don't know if whacking Caesar with the dragon is a particularly good idea.
Has a lot of army.
I don't really think the
I'm-
dragon has any good targets, actually.
Well, the dragon can hit. There's a knight. The dragon does. It's gonna get counterattacked, and it's probably gonna die. So I think Shu was just trying to figure out what he wants to suicide the dragon into, basically. Okay, he goes for the knight.
Yeah, Knight
That's
doesn't
probably
have
the best play.
He
Well,
could
the
also
dragon-
have went for a village on the right, just decap it.
That's true, yeah. That would have been a safe play for the dragon, but then the dragon would be really far away from the front and not threatening. And in this play, with the dragon here, mathlord has to burn 2 moves to kill the dragon, and then if he uses the witch, which he would have to, then the witch will die to Shu's mage. So the dragon is kind of safe here. Mathlord can kill it, but it's probably not a good idea to do so.
The really big thing here as well is that the headquarters is now under a lot of threat on Math's side.
That's true. The dragon, if that village gets decapped, the dragon can reach, and
Yeah.
there's these knights that can reach. That is
he
very
could drop
scary.
2 mage heals on one of the knights and then just run in a knight crit, so all of a sudden Math had to pull his army back to that top right. It's way out of position to do anything to help right now.
There is so much money tied up in that top right corner, literally not able to do anything. There's a golem and 2 mages that are just literally, they're useless when they're up in that top right corner. And even with 5 move, it is going to take them a long time to get down to somewhere useful. And the dragon is really threatening them. The golem can't step on any road tile or it's done.
I don't even think Math can really use his army with Caesar Groove right now.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have enough power units. The knight was his big saving grace. But he's out of power units. You know, he's just got this one pike. So all he can really do is defend. And yeah, it's true that Shu can only make one knight crit on the HQ this turn. The other knight hit will be non-crit. But like, there's nothing that mathlord can do to just stop him from following it up with pikes in this balloon.
Well, I am seeing like if he could like heal the knight on the village and then groove it right afterwards, but that would leave Caesar very exposed.
I don't think we're going to see a groove this turn. I think Mass just needs to scramble to keep Caesar and the headquarters alive, and then kind of build up his forces somewhere where he can do a big counterplay. But
and we can see mathlord is really taking his time trying to figure out how he can stay alive in this situation, because there's a lot of moves he could make that would probably just lead to the end of the game.
okay, so we're probably going to see the dragon go down.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good start, because it means the golem is going to be able to safely start walking its way back into the fray. Although Shu has his own, I didn't even notice that Shu has his own golem at this point.
Yeah, he built that a while ago. It's the one really good important thing about having a econ lead on this map, even if it's a small one, is that you can start pumping out golem and dragon when you need to. And he banked quite a lot of money early on. Like when he built his dragon, he had 1600 gold that turn.
Wow, yeah, so that's a big power turn. So taking down the dragon there, definitely a smart move. He's gonna lose. He's definitely gonna lose the mage, and he's probably gonna lose the witch as well for it. But
Yeah.
dragon was just so oppressive that had no choice.
And the funny thing is, now, because he spent all that time damaging the village, those swords which would start becoming relevant are now injured. And he has to start caring about, well, how am I going to get these into the fight?
Yeah, you're right. That attempt to divert attention backfired. I know that's one thing that Shu always talks about, is fighting where your opponent isn't, and just ignoring all of their good fronts and fighting where it's advantageous for you. I think mathlord thought maybe he could mind game Shu into doing the wrong thing, but Shu did not fall for it.
He's
I
putting
think Math is probably exposing his army a bit too much to protect the witch.
Yeah, he really wants to keep that witch alive.
If he loses the witch, he is really in trouble. I mean, that's his last high gold unit, and like, yeah, there's no dragon anymore, but Shu will probably make another dragon next turn. He's gonna have 1800 gold next turn, so it would not be very hard for him to put out a dragon.
And Math has spent so much gold this turn just healing his army. He's gonna have 280 on his buys.
That is, I've been in that situation many times, and when that starts happening, you know that you're really in a bad spot. Because, you know, really at this point he wants to be buying double pike. He wants to be buying good defensive units, pikes, archers, mages, stuff like that, and all he can do, he just buys a sword.
Yeah,
A sword and a dog.
Sword and a dog. And the dog's gonna be reasonably useful, but I think she's
There's
just
a lot
gonna
of
do a lot
there's a
damage
lot of
this
knights
turn.
and pikes and stuff on board. I don't know how good that dog is really gonna be.
Yeah. We're gonna see a lot of his stuff die right now. I think she's gonna try and needle his way into that mage as well, or into the witch even. And he's gonna do it.
That's not surprising. That wasn't too hard to set up.
Yeah, I think Math invested a lot in trying to keep the witch alive. And ultimately what you have now is a really nice defensive formation with a mage on a mountain.
Right, yeah.
The mage is in crit range, so it's not that defensive. And well, Math does have a mage in range to like take the place. Well, take advantage of that mountain again. So he definitely did set up somewhat of a counterattack last turn. I'm just not sure if it's gonna be enough. He does have Caesar Groove, so I don't think that Math is completely lost at this point in the game. But he's definitely at a disadvantage.
He's loading up with his balloon. Just gets swords on the front line. He wants a wall in front of his spears because those are the things he wants to keep alive. Another dragon comes out. And why not? Because Shu's already up at 40% on his commander, so dragon is seriously going to be like a very strong unit coming into this. You can potentially get more dragon grooves. Just the dragon by itself is already a huge threat.
Ow. I have been... Wait. Wait, no? Yes? No? No. Forget everything I was about to say. I was scoping out some potential plays that mathlord could make that could really turn the game on its head, but I think mathlord has opted not to do it. Against it. Although now I'm... Oh... No, he didn't do it. Still a good play. Mathlord he's going in with the Caesar Groove, and he's taking out some power units here. He's already taken some stuff out, and he's going to get some more kills because he's going to have Groove on... I mean, I'm guessing that he is going to end up grooving right in that hole in the center of his army there.
Yeah, the dog is pretty much the guarantee that that's going to happen.
So, I mean, this is a good Caesar Groove, right? This is going to make a material difference in the state of the game because he's going to kill a lot of units.
Yeah, the goal is to thin out the spear count.
Yeah, and he's successfully done that. The unfortunate thing is there's this golem from Shu and another dragon, which are just going to come in and fill the space. Oh, and the dragon can actually reach... Oh, that sucks. The dragon... the spot that mathlord wanted to move his golem to, one down to the left, the dragon could actually reach him there, which is probably something that he was not banking on, and was a very unfortunate turn of events.
I do like this though. We're gonna see a dog crit come out as well onto that spear. So he's getting some decent damage.
Yeah, you're right, and it doesn't matter if if the dog dies, it doesn't make a difference. It's the dog. And this spear, or not the spear, the knight. Well, the knight can't actually hit anything else, but that's okay.
The unfortunate thing is the knight couldn't hit anything after the groove, but it will be able to position itself in a better way for next turn.
Yeah, and I mean, mathlord definitely still on the back foot here. You know, still behind on. He's about to end his turn behind on unit count, which is not really a position you want to be in. And there's still this dragon out here from Shu.
If you account for villages, though, he is actually up one unit.
Okay, and I mean, he's regained some footing, right? A lot of the immediately threatening killer death ball of pikes has been taken away. So for a comeback here. mathlord did a great job extracting himself from that really dire situation. I mean, if I was in his situation, I would have just forfeited.
Well, you always have to take into account the counterattack that's about to happen right now. So it was a good turn by Math. The thing is, we have to wonder if it's going to be enough to bring him back into a position where he can potentially win the game. Which, I mean, this is Wargroove. It does happen quite easily, but he's still got a few ways to go before he can safely say that he's in a good spot to win the game.
That's absolutely true. And one thing that is also in Shu's favor here is that when you have an income lead, trading and simplifying the game state is to your advantage. Like when you're up 200 golds per turn, like Shu is, you can easily just keep going 1 for 1, 1 for 1, 1 for 1. You can go into trades that would normally be kind of a wash or kind of a waste. And it ultimately ends up in your favor because you can replenish those units that you're losing better than your opponent can. So you can just keep trading until they have nothing and you have something, which is sort of what's happening right now. Like this dragon that came out, like mathlord did a great trade, but now he doesn't have any follow-up. But Shu does have some follow-up because he had that dragon, and the reason he had that dragon is because he had an income lead.
And we're even saying he spent 2 heals on that golem from the mages, just because he's a bit flush with cash right now.
Yeah, and that honestly is kind of devastating when that
That
happens.
golem did take a counterattack crit from the 40% golem, so I guess that's why he had to do it.
Yeah, having a 40% golem is a scary thing, though. But I think Master Math is just taking too much damage that turn. He went from being behind by 1 unit to being behind by, let me do some quick math, 6 units now?
Yeah, and since the army sizes have diminished, that's quite a big deal.
He's getting
being
close to
behind-
having twice the units of Master Math right now.
And the potential for a lethal on this Caesar, on Shu Caesar, was tantalizingly close, but just couldn't quite make it. There were just running through some potential plays in my head. You could do like 80% in like 10 different ways, and there was you just couldn't get that last little bit. That's the worst when that happens, isn't it? When you're like, oh man, I could just almost do it. I could almost win.
Yeah, it's very painful when you're like, there's 4 rolls here, and if I high roll all of them, I'm like 2% away from killing.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. His maximum was probably like in the mid 90s there if he just high rolled everything.
I'm a bit worried about mathlord's HQ right now.
I think he's also a bit worried about his HQ.
Well, I mean, a dragon and a golem could hit it this turn and not really be punished.
I have a feeling they're going to do just that. He's just going to go in with the golem.
Yeah, probably going to heal it first as well. Maybe even after too.
Why not?
Definitely has the money.
He's definitely got the mages as well. He's got a lot of mages on board. His
And
Caesar
yeah,
has a
that's-
groove again. Oh god.
Yeah, that's the scary part about Caesar. Being at medium groove means that you can get multiple ones in a row. And that's really where the game spirals out of control if you didn't lose from the first one.
I think with Shu produces another Caesar groove that's as impactful as the last one, there's absolutely no way that mathlord can survive. I mean, it's pretty likely that mathlord is gonna lose right here anyway, because I don't think he can prevent the golem from finishing him off next turn.
Yeah, I think all Shu needs to do is surround Caesar with units. Just put his entire army around him, and then let the dragon and the golem do its thing.
He's been doing a pretty good job of that. He's been very careful not to leave Caesar exposed, which is a mistake that a lot of Caesar players make, I think. It's really easy to think, oh, I'm going to go in and groove everything, and then I'm going to win the game. And then when you don't win the game, you accidentally left Caesar on a road with 3 sides open, and then you get lethal.
And he is actually leaving Caesar open on 2 sides on a road, but nothing can reach it. The terrain
Nothing
is
can
way
reach
too...
him, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think mathlord has any way to stop this HQ from falling, especially when a Caesar groove is coming right behind it. The Knight crit is set up. I can see him potentially holding it for 1 more turn, but that's about it. And
He's
well,
going in with
actually,
the-
if he does hold it for 1 turn, he could potentially force Shu to go back and defend his own HQ, but still don't think mathlord has any way out of this one anymore.
If he wins this one, if he wins from this position, it's going to be the greatest comeback in history.
In theory, he can, I guess. Oh, but the Knight's just gonna die to the spears. That's the big thing. He would need to like seriously injure the front spear, if not kill it. I have a feeling that was meant to be a suicide sword as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the sword was meant to suicide because it's now on left at 6% HP, so...
I have a feeling that sword was supposed to die. I have a feeling that was a very unfortunate roll. Just standing over there by the balloon. I don't think that's exactly what mathlord was intending.
I think he really wanted to put his Knight in a position where he could crit the enemy headquarters.
Yeah, that would make sense, because the HQ is just completely undefended right now from Zhu, but... You know.
The sword on the left
I don't.
will just die, so...
Oh, and there's the Knight crit. Didn't even see that one. There it goes.
Pop.
Alright.
That's game 1.
Yeah, Shu taking game 1 in a very convincing fashion. I think Caesar kind of muddies the argument of who has FTA, because Caesar is just such a strong commander that getting groove first is a big deal, but on the other hand, Shu proved his point. He was the one that was saying, if you go first on this map, you have the advantage.
I mean, I don't know anything about what the specifics of the argument are, so I'm not going to weigh in on whether I think there was an FTA issue in there or not.
Well, Shu definitely played his opening in such a way to get groove earlier than Math did, which really paid off, so... Props to him for doing that.
That's really smart, recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of your commander. You know, the strength being, if I get groove early, I can just blow my opponent out of the water and they can't do anything. And the weakness being that if I use my groove and don't blow them out of the water, I usually will just die. Played around both of those expertly in this game.